What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel on UFC 310 featuring Alexandre, Pantoja and Asakura, as well as Shavkat versus Garry and many other amazing fights on the card. It takes place this weekend, Sunday Australia time, Saturday in America, where the fights are taking place, and it is actually one of the best cards of the year, top to bottom in my opinion. Now maybe the ordering of the main card makes it not appear as quite of a stacked card. Like if you take just the main card and you put that up, you're like, what is this? Gracie, Bryce Mitchell, Landwehr, Choi. Like, it's not bad. But if you look at the whole card as a whole, the whole card, okay, I'm just saying shit. No women's fights, big tick. Big fan of that. This fight and this card and the Abu Dhabi pay-per-view 308 also had no women's fights, so I'm a big fan of this UFC. Keep women in the apex. But great card, top to bottom, pretty much no skips, I would say. Like, there's not any fight where I'm like, yeah, this is just not worth watching. Maybe one or two, but for the most part, stacked lineup, looking forward to it a lot. And yeah, let's start off with the first fight, go all the way up to the main event. I'll give my prediction and breakdown. And yeah, let's start with the early prelim opener. We start off the card with Nzechweku versus Brzeski. I'm going to be picking Nzechweku. I'm going to be picking big light heavyweight black dude to beat fat Polish bloke. Because yeah, I just think anyone who fights a light heavyweight should move up to heavyweight. To be honest with you, mate, I don't even know the guy, but fucking his absolute bum, Brzeski, got KO'd by Mick Parkin. So as far as I'm concerned, he is a bum. But yeah, you can't be getting slept by Mick the Blob Parkin. Heir to fucking Gaziev's throne when Gaziev retires from the sport. Like, Mick Parkin, certified Apex fucking blob maxer. As soon as they took this guy out the Apex, he somehow just got a fucking KO. And he KO'd Brzeski. Brzeski beat fucking Walter Walker, but Walter Walker's got like 2 minutes of cardio. He's just wrestles, but he's Marab without the cardio, just spamming takedowns with no control time. But this time he has no gas tank, so he sucks. Brzeski beat him by like split decision. Nzechweku's awful, right? He lost to OSP. That's an awful look, but I'm going to just say this, if OSP went up to heavyweight, he's probably a fucking top 10 heavyweight. Like, let's be honest. Like, heavyweights, if you have any amount of athleticism, which Nzechweku does, he has somewhat power, he has an awful chin, but it doesn't matter, because if you have athleticism and range and you just don't get completely size-mogged, you will be fine at heavyweight and you will win. Like, I could do a video on just all the light heavyweights who should move up to heavyweight. Like, Rakic should move up. Fucking Garry should arguably move up, but he is a very small light heavyweight. Rakic for sure should move up though. I don't know. Ankalaev arguably should move up. Like, but these guys, like Johnny Walker, if you're struggling at light heavyweight and kind of in a position of like you're just not going for a title shot, move up to heavyweight and you'll immediately be like top 8. Because you'll be ahead of like Tybura, and then once you get past Tybura, then you get into the guys who have somewhat athleticism. So then it's trouble, but until then, you can just be athletic and then be a top 10 heavyweight. So that's what Nzechweku is succeeding in doing. I do think he will make the rankings at heavyweight just because how garbage the division is, and he will beat Brzeski by early TKO. He tuned up Chris Barnett. I reckon he can do the same here. He's got the range, he's got the pop, he's got the speed. There's just really nothing that Brzeski has apart from being heavier, maybe. But even that, he's not a big heavyweight. So, yeah, Nzechweku should win this comfortably, but you just can't ever trust someone who lost to OSP with your money. So don't bet on him, but he should win. Let's move on, though, to the next fight. Next up, we got Chase Hooper. This fucking prepubescent looking dude versus, who's he fighting? Clay Guida, old fucking man Guida. If he loses this weekend, he'll break the record for the most losses in the UFC. So, shout out Clay Guida, professional loser, you know. So he loses well for the most part. Like, he'll sometimes have some split decisions, but for the most part, Clay Guida, he loses pretty well. You know, he can be a bit of a tough, crafty vet, as Lucas Tracy would say, a bit of a craftsman, a bit of a griftster. But for the most part, Clay Guida is awful, and he will lose to anyone with talent. And I do believe Chase Hooper has talent. I might be going out on a limb here to say that the guy who was like considered one of the best prospects in the sport but he was just too young and then got fraud checked because he was like 20 and got chinned by Steve Garcia. But apart from that, I think Hooper's solid now. He's coming into his own. He fucking dropped Vyacheslav Borshev and dominated him like 10-7 round. So yeah, he should smoke Guida. What's Guida coming off? I know he had a fight with Rafa Garcia. I know he had a fight with... he fought on the fucking card, the Saryuki and Dariush card. Who did he fight? He fought someone and he looked mid from memory. Maybe I'm bugging. Anyway, Guida sucks. No explanation needed. Hooper should win comfortably by submission. Or TKO on the ground is not a bad call as well. So if it's big number, if it's like big plus 1,000 or some shit, chuck $5 on Chase Hooper by TKO. Because he could get it done with ground and pound. Let's move on, though, to the next fight. Next up, we got a fucking certified UNC matchup. Michael Chiesa versus Max Griffin. I'm going to go with Chiesa just because I feel like I'll feel dumber if I pick Griffin and he loses than Chiesa, maybe. And I do need to pick some underdogs for these cards because I am pretty confident in most of my picks. This is one of the least confident ones, least I should say, but... yeah, I need to pick an underdog at least, so I will pick Michael Chiesa as like a plus 100 underdog, and so then someone can't say you're picking all favourites, because for the most part, I do think most of the favourites should get it done. There are some tempting underdogs, but I am being a little bit safe on this card, but still, I do think Chiesa's got a good shot to win. Griffin is not that good. Yeah, he beat Jeremiah Wells, but Jeremiah Wells has been exposed to just be like a muscle ball with no skill. And if you have any talent, you can win and beat him. Because I think Carlston Harris... because he was just like physicality-ing Carlston Harris with takedowns. And then he got fucking, I think, anacondaed or head and armed or something in the third round and lost. Or some shit like that. Von Flute, I don't know. Some sort of choke put him out. Alright? And Jeremiah Wells sucks. And he had a close fight with Griffin based off just athleticism winning him rounds. So I think Chiesa can get some takedowns. Griffin has been wrestled offensively before, not like he's got brick wall takedown defense. So yeah, I'm gonna act like I know anything about this fight, and I'm giving some analytical breakdown, and I'm gonna go with Michael Chiesa, who, you know, on paper he beat Tony Ferguson, and Tony Ferguson is a former interim champion. So no, he beat washed Tony, but to be fair, like, even though Tony was washed, he did just pick him up, dump him down, and sub him immediately. Like, let's not forget, people forget, man, Paddy went to a decision with washed Tony. Now, I get Tony does get more washed as time goes on, but like, if you're subbing him in the first, it's still not an impressive win, but it's like, you can be like, okay, at least you're disposing of a corpse quickly, rather than some people who have taken it to a decision. So, yeah, Michael Chiesa confirmed better than Charles Oliveira, imagine taking Ferguson to a decision. So, yeah, that's my take on the matter. But anyway, I'll go Chiesa by decision based on takedowns. Let's move on, though, to the next fight. Next up, we got one of my favourite fighters right now, Josh Van. This card's got a few of my favourite fighters, Pantoja and Josh Van on there, both flyweights. And I think Van will, at some point in his career, win the belt that Pantoja holds. I don't think that'll be soon. I think he's like 24 right now, so it'll be a hot minute before he does get there. And he'll need to not just rush himself into the rankings and get himself chinned by like fucking Manel Cap or something. But I think if they give Josh Van the right career path, he can get to a title by the time he's like 27, 28. And I think that starts with a win, or it continues, I should say, because he's already coming off a win against Edgar Shires. I think it continues with a win here over Cody Durden, who I don't think is that good. Like, Cody Durden, yes, he did, I think, beat Charles Johnson, but MMA math don't work, styles make fights. Charles Johnson is susceptible to being taken down. Josh Van's not a guy who really pushes for takedowns, and he didn't stand for Durden didn't stand for as long from memory. I think he just wrestle-fucked Charles Johnson. But that was before Charles Johnson went on some fucking legendary streak and got a skullet and then started beating everyone. And he's now on a 4-fight win streak, fraud-checking fucking Azam Maxim and KOing Josh Van and beating Jake Hadley and Sumodoji in 4 wins in 2024. So, yeah, that loss to Cody Durden was before the mythical run of skullet Charles Johnson. But Josh Van, I think that's not a great matchup for him. Like, Van's a midget, right? He could literally cut to 115. Like, Van, if you said you got to make 115, I'm confident Van makes 115 because he's fighting so often that, like, the weight cut has got to be so easy because he's not built and he's like 5'5". Like, he's Pantoja's height, but without as much muscle. So yeah, I don't think Van's got a rough weight cut at all. Durden, I don't think will have too much of a rough weight cut, but Charles Johnson is a large human, and it's kind of like you can beat people who are bigger than you when you wrestle, but it's harder to beat a lot of them when they strike, especially if they've got a bit of pop and if they've got the range. So that's what I think Van struggled with, but I think you can beat Cody Durden here. Durden's striking ain't that good. I don't think maybe he wins the first, so I'll go either Van by 29-28 decision or by TKO, because he can put it on him. Like, he basically had Shiras out of there and then got fucking fluke spinning back fisted and dropped, and then he still won that fight. Van's chin is a worry, but I'm not going to worry about you getting chinned by someone who couldn't chin Matt Schnell. And he's coming off a win over Matt Schnell. I'm talking about Cody Durden. But it's actually very encouraging to my pick here that he didn't KO Matt Schnell or even rock him that much. Even he was getting kind of more tagged. And he got dropped and finished by Bruno Silva as well. He was looking good in that fight, but he lost. He got KO'd by Bruno Silva. And yeah, that's not the best look, to be honest. Like, Bruno Silva, I think he's mid. He's got power, but I think Van puts together combinations really well. So if he gets his reads down, I do think he can stuff some takedowns. Maybe his inexperience just kind of gets him to get held down and it's shit for him. But I think he can rise to the occasion here. I think he continue the run and continue this bounce back after the first loss or the first KO loss of his career. So I'm picking Josh Van by either late round 2 or early round 3 TKO, or similar to the Shiras fight, or just a kind of decision where he picks it up and dominates in the later rounds. Durden seems like he's decent, like probably conditioning's not too bad, but I'm going to rate Josh Van. I am worried about these quick turnarounds in fights that he's getting dropped, but again, I don't think Cody Durden has power to be worried about, to be honest. So yeah, let's move on though to the next fight. Next up on the card, we got Chris Weidman, Eric Anders. I'm going to pick Weidman. I can't be fucked breaking this down again. If you want to hear like 3 minutes of me talking about this fight, go watch my 309 prediction video. I picked Weidman then, I'm picking him now. Made slightly more confident by the fact that Anders pulled out with a medical issue, so probably, I think the UFC, I imagine, like immediately kind of notified Weidman, being like, it's not too bad, we're going to try and rebook it pretty quickly, keep yourself in shape, keep yourself in training camp. Doubt he went heavy on the Thanksgiving dinner. Doubt he started blowing back up after the fight got cancelled. I think he was probably told they were rebooking it, and obviously Anders kind of he still would have been able to train in the lead up to this, but he would have had his camp sort of reset and like, okay, I got to get myself better, feel better, get not sick anymore, and then I can go back to training. So I'm going to back the momentum of Weidman. Hasn't had his camp interrupted, hasn't really had that focus shift. Maybe he's like all angry because he didn't get to fight on 309 in New York near his hometown, and that pisses him off and he fights reckless. But Anders is not a massive power puncher. I'm not really worried about Weidman getting chinned. I'm not really worried about him getting out grappled. So yeah, you're giving me someone who has no real dangerous threat over him. I'll back Weidman to utilize the eye pokes effectively and to get the win here by decision. Let's move on though to the next fight. To start off the prelims, we have Bryan Battle versus Randy Brown. This is one of the better fights on the prelims and one of the better unranked fights that can actually be put together right now, especially in the welterweight division. This fight, very intriguing. I do think Battle is going to win. I like his momentum. I like this quick turnaround coming off the dominant TKO win over Kevin Jessett and that incredibly aura-gaining post-fight interview in Paris where he... I'm not going to try and do the impression, but no, you don't think the Butcher was going to lose in a fist fight to a French dude. Elite stuff from Bryan Battle, fucking evil Charles Oliveira. This dude's on a run, and apart from getting dominated by Renat, which Randy Brown is not the type of fighter, the archetype to do that, to take him down and dominate in the wrestling. Randy Brown, and that is not his game. He is a range striker, and I think we see with these Kevin Jessett type of fights is Battle gets past the range strikers. He might take some jabs and shit. He might get jabbed up, but ultimately he'll push a pace. He'll go forward. And Brown looked mid as fuck against Alexandre dos Santos. And Alexandre dos Santos is still solid and he's dangerous. He just KO'd some bum, but dos Santos is 38. And he's a fucking old man. So, if you can't be putting that dude away and you're looking fucking very questionable in moments, I don't like how you're going to do against an in-form, primed Bryan Battle who's got momentum, is gaining aura, he's coming off wins, basically he whooped Angelus's ass. Back to back, we've had amazing, results and, gaining kind of moments out of Bryan Battle fights after the eye poke thing with Lusa, where Lusa basically quit and then could apparently see 2 minutes later, and then also this Gisette post-fight interview. Like, he's been doing good, Bryan Battle, cementing himself as a fan favourite prospect, and I think he'll continue that here with a late rounds TKO, because I do think Randy Brown's chin is questionable, or just a dominant decision. He could mix in the grappling himself as well if he gets, like, feels like he's in too much trouble on the feet. But yeah, like, I don't know, Randy Brown, he's just having close fights with most guys, apart from KOing Muslim Salikov, which, fair enough, that's a solid win, but I think Battle's well past the level of Muslim Salikov. So yeah, I'm backing the Butcher to get the win here by TKO or decision, dominant, like 29-28, but like one of those 29-28s where it's like, yeah, that kept going, he was getting his ass whooped and leading to a finish. So yeah, I got Battle winning and kind of pushing himself towards a ranked opponent as well. Let's move on though to the next fight. Next up, we have probably like the third most interesting fight on the card. If you ask some people, like the second behind Shavkat and Garry, some people are more interested in this than the main event, but it will probably be a very boring fight, which is why I imagine it being on the prelims. I think the UFC has kind of moved away from putting all the biggest names on the main card and going more to like trying to create an enjoyable like pay-per-view experience, which is weird because you'd think they would just be like, oh, casuals will probably know Aljo and they might buy the pay-per-view, even though casuals aren't going to buy pay-per-views. But people usually buy pay-per-views for names, not because they're like, oh yeah, this could end up being really fun. Like, I for one did not buy the Sphere pay-per-view because I'm like, these names are mid. It could be really fun, but I will have fun watching it on Stream East. But this is allegedly, of course, you know, Dana White. It's fine. I'm not illegally. We use Russian link, but what else am I going to say? Yeah, you'd think they'd put Aljo on the main card and just, like, get the name value. Like, Smith, Reyes, main card opener, Aljo, fourth fight on the card, feature fight, Gane, Volkov. But no, they're going with more, like, fun over. But Gracie is not a fuck. Like, bruv, you're not getting... I'm going to talk about that fight in a second. You're not drawing back some 60-year-olds from fucking 1993 who are watching the sport in their fucking garage, talking to their friends about how nasty of a fucking squid guard that Royce Gracie had. Like, those guys are not buying the pay-per-views. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what the marketing move is here with Gracie. If his contract is like, I have to only be on main cards. But I'll talk about that more in a second. I've spent like 2 minutes not even breaking down the fight. I'm picking Movsar. I think Movsar, little brother, I tell you, she was 17, I was 21. It is our religion. Honestly, that's a very close age gap for a typical Muslim relationship. Moving on. Movsar, though, he's a great fighter. Look, I'm not gonna make too much of a deal out of the thing. I kind of just take the piss, and everyone's like, bro, it's not even that big a deal. I'm like, I actually don't care. Like, I'm just joking. But yeah, whatever. Date whoever you want, Movsar. But I think he'll beat Aljo because I think he's stronger than Aljo. I think he's got better pure wrestling, and I think he's got better striking. And even though they both have pillow hands, I do think Movsar is a bit more dangerous on the feet. Like, Movsar's at least hurt people on the feet slightly. You know, he tagged Allen a few times. He even hurt Lopez a couple times on the feet. Aljamain Sterling has, like, never hurt anyone on the feet. Ever. Like, when's the last time you've seen someone rocked by Aljamain Sterling and be like, oh, Aljo's got him hurt? Like, never. Doesn't happen. So I think overall, this fight's going to go decision. You know, place your entire fucking mortgage on fight to go distance. And I just think Movsar is going to just do more across the time. And as much as Rogan might be fucking creaming his pants and going like, that's a nasty... You do not want to be in there in the guard of the funk master. He's got a nasty guard. His jiu-jitsu's phenomenal. Like, as much as Rogan's going to be glazing the BJJ of Aljamain Sterling if he's on bottom, I think Movsar's going to do a good enough job, like, taking him down, kind of dunking him there, getting some repeat, like, getting like 30 seconds of just repeat fucking mat returns, and then just separating and then doing more on the feet. And I think he'll just steal rounds like that. So maybe Aljo uses some crafty vet status and wins a round. I'd love to see Aljo win. I want him to win, because even though Movsar's undefeated, you want undefeated fighters in the sport. It's like, I just don't think he brings anything to the division. I think Aljo, like an Aljo champion, like former champion at bantamweight, moving up, trying to get a championship at featherweight is more interesting than Movsar or Evloev. Like, I don't know. That's my opinion. But it should be a solid fight. It's intriguing, but I don't think it'll be very fun. is my take. But I want Aljo to win. I just don't think he will. Let's move on, though, to the next fight. Next up, we got Themba Magumbu versus Vicente Luque. I'm going to pick Garimbo. I'm going to pick fucking Zimbabwe man against Japanese Brazilian. Is Luque Japanese Brazilian or is that Machida? They look the same, aren't they? They look similar. But I'm going to be picking, we're doing some ethnic breakdowns in the middle of this fucking prediction video because, again, we're back with 2 a.m. recording here. But I'm going to be picking Garimbo because I think Luque is just so washed. And even though Garimbo is not known to be a power puncher, he does have occasional random ability to drop people, like with Pete Rodriguez. And I know you might say, oh, Pete Rodriguez, there's no way you're comparing Pete Rodriguez to Luque. Skill-wise, absolutely not. But chin-wise, they're probably not too far off at this stage of their career. I just don't know if I can trust Luque to take any clean shots. I'm not going to pick Garimbo by KO, but I think what will happen is Luque is going to be gun-shy. He's going to kind of let himself get bullied around a bit. If he gets taken down, he'll just be very hesitant to sort of explode back up. He'll get ground and pounded. He might just quit like he did against Buckley, but hopefully we see some grit down from Luque and we see a win here. And it is tempting because I do think Garimbo sucks, right? And I will pick him to lose against any other ranked opponent. But he's finessed the only ranked opponent who I do favour him to beat. So I will pick him by decision. Let's move on, though, to the next fight, the featured prelim. Next up, we got the victim of John Jones versus the guy who actually whooped John Jones' ass. You know, I know there was that one moment where I think it was DC, it was Reyes, I think it was Rashad, and it was someone else on the desk, and they were like, we got one thing in common, boys, we all got our butt kicked by John Jones. And then Reyes kind of looks at him and is like, I did not get my butt kicked by John Jones, I whooped that guy's ass. But yeah, Reyes beat Jones, and we're far past that version of Reyes in terms of like the durability, the ability to like have a back and forth fight. Because I think Reyes is going to be like a first round or bust kind of guy, like, or in terms like he's KO. I think he's going to be a KO or get KO, like a get or get got type of guy from now until the end of his career, which we don't know when that'll be. But I don't think Anthony Smith has the tools to finish him because I don't think Reyes is getting subbed. I don't think that's his weakness. I think his weakness is getting randomly chinned by jabs by Ryan Spann. I don't think Anthony Smith's going to land a spinning elbow. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Anthony Smith doesn't hit as hard as Jan Blachowicz. I know, crazy take. So that's going to be my guess. And if he does get finished by Anthony Smith by TKO, he's a bum and should retire. And he gets fraud checked by Anthony Smith. But Smith sucks. You cannot be losing to Roman Dolidze upper weight class who's taking the fight on short notice. That's an awful look. But on paper, you know, I beat all of these guys and they know that. That's why they get so upset when I say it, because they know that I'm right and I beat all these guys on my best day. Anthony Smith on paper. Sorry, buddy, you haven't seen a fucking piece of paper in years since you fucking beat Gustafsson or whatever. Like, when's the last time Anthony Smith's been on paper? It's been a fucking decade. But anyway, let's move on, though, to the next fight. Reyes by TKO. Let's move on, though, to the main card. Moving on, we've got Nate Landwehr. Take a look at this bicep versus Choi or Duho Choi, whatever. Korean Superboy. I'm picking Nate Landwehr. I'm picking Nate the Train in the UFC, baby. Nate Landwehr's going to get the win here, I reckon. And it's not because I think he's so much better than Choi, because I actually think Choi is a little bit more skilled, is a little bit more quick, a bit more precise. So he does have the potential to catch him early. Because we have seen Landwehr put down in round 1 by David Onama. We did see him get rocked early by Jamal Emmers. We have seen him put out by Herbert Burns, which is an awful fucking look, to be honest. I almost am tempted to pick against anyone who got KO'd by Herbert Burns. But I will say that Nate Landwehr has looked good recently, and to beat him, I think you're gonna have to be a Dan Ige. I think with like the intensity and the pressure that this guy fights at, his durability, his willingness to just stay in the fire and just scrap, I think you have to be either really, really skilled and technical to just outpoint him to a decision, or you gotta just have elite stopping power to just put this dude away early. And I don't think Choi has either. I don't think he's technical enough to just outside range fucking point strike this guy, and I don't think he's a fucking Gene Silver to where I'm like, okay, yeah, Landwehr might just get slapped, or like a fucking Josh Hammett or something where I'm like, okay, just gonna get KO'd. So I think if you're not KOing Nate Landwehr and you're not just somehow staying on at range to a decision, which not many people are able to do Ige dropped him a few times and won a decision there, but if Ige ain't finishing him, I don't think Choi's finishing him. I'm going to pick Landwehr again. I think he's got more grit, more toughness, more ability to sort of just wait in the fire and go for it, bite down on the mouthpiece type of thing. Like, he put away Jamal Emmers, who in my opinion beat Jack Jenkins clearly 2-1, and got robbed in that fight. So to KO Emmers in round 1 after a tough kind of early couple minutes, very impressive. The fight with Onama, yes, he almost got slept, but he went on to win, and he could have finished Onama easily, except he just wanted to make it fun for the crowd. That fight was nuts, by the way. Go back and rewatch that shit. But anyway, I'm picking Nate the Train to win and have a fucking elite post-fight interview. And also, just going to say, the press conference in a couple of days, this dude is about to be the only fucking interesting thing on the press conference. Because what else is going to happen? Bryce Mitchell's going to talk about Flat Earth. Him and Kron Gracie are going to talk about Flat Earth together. Gracie's going to say how he's upset with the rules and he wants one 25-minute round instead of 3 different rounds, and just yap some bullshit. And someone's going to be like, Kron, what's it like to be carrying the Gracie lineage in 2024? And he's going to be like, I don't care. Like, I'm not even going to bother the accent. Like, I just don't give a... That's going to be Kron Gracie. He's just going to give the most bland answers to everything. Volkov and... No, this is not good matchup for me. And then we're going to have fucking Shavkat. Sit down, shut up, and do what you're told. But Gary's probably going to be respectful and be like, I respect Shavkat for taking this fight, and we're going to have a good battle. Like, that's going to be what... And then Pantoja is... Are you proud of me now, Dad? Guys, don't leave the press conference, guys, please. Like, the press conference is going to be so shit, and Nate Landwehr's going to be out there. Like, take a look at his bicep. Like, he's going to be the only good part of the press conference, and I think he'll be a great way to kick off the main card. So this placement I support, but this next fight I just cannot get behind being on the main card. But we talk about that right now. Next up, fucking Hall of Fame retarded booking here. Why could I see Bryce Mitchell repetitively going for too many takedowns, getting comfortable on top and getting subbed? Why can I see that happening? And we have to deal with the reality of Kron Gracie being a ranked fighter in 2024. That is a reality I don't want to live in, but I could see it happening. But I'm going to choose to live positively and logically, and I'm going to say Bryce Mitchell wins, because I think he's decent, and I think getting KO'd by Josh Emmett and losing to Ilya does not mean you're going to lose to fucking Kron Gracie. Because if you lose to Kron Gracie, you're worse than Charles Jourdain. Hang on, what am I thinking? No, Charles Jourdain beat Kron Gracie. So if you lose to Kron Gracie, you're on par with fucking Alex Caceres. Like, what I said before made sense. You're worse than Charles Jourdain, because Charles Jourdain beat Kron Gracie. So if you lose to him, you suck. You're worse than Cub Swanson, who beat Kron Gracie, if you lose to this guy. But I could see Bryce Mitchell being retarded, going, the earth is flat, brother, and just fucking, I don't know, some bullshit. Like, see how this octagon's flat, brother? If the earth was fucking round, this octagon would be round too, brother. Like, just say some bullshit and just keep going for takedowns and get subbed with a fucking triangle, or like an omoplata. Or he tries to fucking twist a Kron Gracie and gets fucking Ezekiel choked. I don't know. But his grappling's good enough. Like, this is not like some bum grappler who I'm like, okay, yeah, if they end up on top randomly, they're going to be in trouble. Like, if Charles Jourdain can stay out of trouble on the ground, I think Bryce Mitchell can too. I think he's got better takedowns, better top control. Striking isn't the best, but I think anyone can fucking outstrike Kron Gracie, who does have a solid chin, to be fair, but he's a walking punching bag and he refuses to evolve his game at all. Maybe somehow, the funny thing is, and the reason why I'm low-key worried about this fight, is like the small, like 5% chance that Kron Gracie has decided to actually train martial arts. Because if he's actually decided to train martial arts and not just come in off the fucking mats doing all jiu-jitsu practice in the gi and never fucking throwing a strike in the training room, but if he actually trains punches, then he might have a chance here. But I don't think so. If he trains offensive grappling, he could have a shot. But I think we're just going to see the typical Kron Gracie that comes back after 3 years off and fucking lays on the ground and pulls guard against the fence. So that's what we're in for. But yeah, what the fuck is this shit doing on the main card, bro? Anyway, let's move on though to the next fight. Next up, we got Alexandre Volkov versus Cyril Gane. No, this is not good matchup for me. I only fight up in the rankings. Cyril, you don't get to fight for the belt. No, why not? Thomas Pinal, this guy is ducking me, sacre bleu. But I think he's going to win the rematch here against Volkov. It's going to take a lot for me to pick anyone who lost a first fight 50-45. It's going to take me a lot to pick against that guy. It's going to take me a lot to pick the guy that lost 50-45 in the first fight in the rematch when it's 3 rounds. Look, 3 rounds does slightly favour Volkov because I do think Gane's a guy who's going to get reads as the fight goes on and do better and better on the feet, similar to a Peter Yan. But I still just don't think Volkov's got enough. When Volkov was able to tee off on Sergey Pavlovich, who is a bit of a stationary target and is open to just getting cracked, but I don't think Gane is that. I think apart from getting fluke dropped by Ty, because that was like the first card in Paris, Gane was in front of his home crowd, he was probably feeling confident, he got a bit too cocky, he got dropped, right? But he beat the fuck out of Ty the rest of that fight. Like, let's not act like apart from that one knockdown, this dude has been literally flawless on the feet. Like, Ngannou didn't touch this dude really clean on the feet at all, only had success grappling. Rosenstrike, JDS, Lewis, Ty, all these guys have Spivak, all these guys are getting absolutely fucking whooped by Gane on the feet, apart from one knockdown. So I don't think we can, and again, Volkov as well. I don't think we can say that Gane's just going to get KO'd by Volkov. Volkov himself is not really a KO guy. He finished Rosenstrike with an early stoppage, but I'm not saying he's going to KO Gane, and I don't think you outpoint Gane, and I don't think he's submitting Gane. So if you take away the fucking 3 methods of victory that you can win by, unless it's DQ via back of the head shots, if the refs finally decide to call some of those, I'm sure. I'm not going to do the bingo card thing that Bedtime does, but if you're doing a fucking bingo card, chuck on back of the head finishing combination, or at least multiple back of the head shots by Cyril Gane to your bingo card, because that shit's hitting. This guy's landing over under fucking 7.5 back of the head shots in this fight. I'm taking the over, hammering that fucking over all day long, because he loves that back of the head. He's got a fucking laser for it. He's got a honing beacon on the fucking back of that man's cranium, and Volkov's in trouble. Anyway, let's move on though to the co-main event. Next up, Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Ian Machado Garry. Can't believe I'm calling a man by his wife's last name, but respect to him. You might be a cuck, but you're a fucking cuck who's good at fighting. So I'll give him some credit. And he's a cuck who's not afraid to take another fight against someone on short notice. So I'll give him credit. Good job, Ian Garry. I respect you much more than Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman. Prates, he would have taken the fight, but he was injured. And I'm not even glazing. Go to Dana's interview with Kevin Ioli. He literally said, we tried to give him the fight, we asked him if he wanted to take the fight. He said yes. Then we found out he had a broken foot, so we said, no, you're not taking a fucking fight with a broken foot. So they stopped him. But Colby blatantly ducked it, and Usman ducked it. So shout out to Ian Garry for stepping up. And proof that Colby ducked it is because why the fuck did you not fight Shavkat, but you're willing to fight Buckley a week later? Maybe if they'd put an interim belt, he would have taken it. But again, just ducking from Colby. I'm doing a top 15 least favourite fighters video soon because I hate that guy. Praying on his downfall. Buckley, please KO him. Inshallah. But I'm picking Shavkat, but I think he'll struggle. And I know people, you're going to say, oh, he's copying other people's takes. No, I've kind of had this take for a minute. Originally, I was like, oh, I'll run through Garry. Garry's too soy. And then I kind of deeped and I was like, hang on. But even in that video, I did say, Garry's a way better striker than him, but Shavkat's just more powerful, and I don't see him getting chinned. Because if you're not chinning Shavkat, I think a Prates or a JDM are the only 2 guys I could see chinning Shavkat. More so Prates, just with that sniper style, because JDM could do well, but I think JDM will just look very similar to Jeff Neal. But I think Prates is the guy who could actually put him down. But if you're not going to do what Prates has the potential to do, then you're going to go decision win, because I don't think you're submitting Shavkat. That's not happening. And I don't think you're going to lay and pray Shavkat. So to beat Shavkat, in my opinion, you have to just outpoint him. And I don't think you can really just stay at range with Shavkat and expect to not get caught with something finished, knee to the body, beaten up, have your fucking, eye bleeding, have, your nose bleeding. You're going to just, if you go 25 with Shavkat, you're going to get beaten up. And it's just going to be, is your durability good enough? Is your conditioning good enough? I'm going to back Shavkat to have better conditioning than Ian Garry. Maybe that turns out to be wrong. And I low-key do kind of have a feeling that we're going to see some random fucking Ian Garry masterclass and have to call this guy the future fucking welterweight champion. But I do think Shavkat will win. Knees in the clinch are way too good. I think he's way too strong for Ian Garry. He's too physical. And yeah, Ian Garry's just going to break down as the fight goes on. Vegan diet, not doing him any favours. And yeah, his striking is very technical. It's very nice to watch, I guess. But I think he might even be too cautious, and he might like Leon Edwards max too much and stay on the outside too much and let himself get backed up. Because if he goes forward, pressure Shavkat back, he can have success. But if he just lets Shavkat back him up the whole time, even if he's out striking and then like Rogan's jizzing his pants over feints, like the judges will just give it to aggression, because that's what they do. Especially if you got a guy like Shavkat with aura. I'm not saying this is how they should be scored, but this is how they are scored. If you have aura, and if you look like you're intimidating the other guy and look like you're pressuring them effectively, even if the guy's just on the outside sniping you, then they'll just give you rounds based off that. So I do think Shavkat wins. I think I could see Ian Garry win in the first, and people are like, hang on, this dude's actually pretty good. Like, Cuckboy's actually not bad. Shavkat could be a bit overrated, and we start to see that, this guy would have lost to Bilal talks. And then I think he's going to build some momentum and get a finish round 3 or 4 by submission. Maybe TKO in the clinch with knees, but I think he'll get him in a submission. Maybe kind of hurt him to the body, and then as Ian Garry sort of hunches over, jump on a neck, go a gilly, or just get to the back and work that rear naked choke like he's done before against Wonderboy, against Jeff Neal, against these other guys. So yeah, I'm picking Shavkat, but I think Ian's going to put up a good fight and have a stock-raising performance to where it's like, okay, this dude's potentially a future champion if Shavkat dips, or he's going to be a top like 3-4 guy for the next like 5-6 years. So I think we're in for that type of fight here. Let's move on though to the main event. Pantoja, mister, I worked so hard for this, you guys. It's good fighters, it's good opponent, man. It's tough guys. But I think Pantoja's going to beat Asakura, and I hope he does it impressively. Look, as much as I still do like Pantoja, and I'm a big fan of his, I'm rooting for him to gain legacy and keep building his legacy at flyweight and keep climbing up the lower end of the GOAT list in that top 30 range. I do recognize that he is losing some sort of fanfare in terms of going to decisions, but that's why I want him to go out there and just smoke Asakura. What I want to happen, though, is for him to smoke Asakura, and then for Asakura to go out there in his next fight and fucking chin like Kara France, or like chin, I don't know, Manel Cap in a fucking trilogy or something. Like, that's what I want. I want Asakura to then prove to actually be legit, but still get smoked by Pantoja. So people are like, okay, this dude is just levels ahead of everyone. He smoked this guy, and this guy's actually good. Because if he beats Asakura and then Asakura fucking loses to like Tim Elliott, then we're like, okay, it's kind of a fraudulent title offense. It's kind of a bum title offense. But if he beats him, subs him in like round 1 or 2, or finishes him with strikes, and then this guy goes on to beat fucking Moreno or something, or beat Royval, or beat Kara France or Urseg, then I'm like, okay, hang on, this dude's actually good, and that's a good win for Pantoja. So I want Pantoja's resume to age well. Like, I think the Urseg win still will age well, even though he did lose to Kai. I also think Pantoja underestimated Urseg in that fight. I think if they rematched, he would win comfortably. But I think Pantoja's beaten Kai Asakura. I think he beat Kara France as well. Just going to point out, Kara France came out with some fucking video on the Engage YouTube channel, that sponsorship that all the ANZ guys have, and said, if Pantoja wins, let's fight in New Zealand. I'll headline in New Zealand. No, you will not headline in New Zealand. Shut your fucking mouth, you little dwarf. Quit yapping. You're not fighting in New Zealand. You don't get to headline a pay-per-view or headline a fight in your own country as the challenger when you're coming off one win and you lost to Amir Albazi. It was a clear win for Albazi, by the way, not a robbery. But like, we saw how awful Albazi looked against Moreno, and you had a close fight with that guy where you almost got subbed. Like, come on, buddy, you ain't fucking headlining in New Zealand. Pipe down. But anyway, Asakura Pantoja. I think Pantoja's going to win. I think he's got him covered in the grappling. Asakura's striking's dangerous, but I think it's power-based and it's danger-based, but it's not that skilled in my opinion. Like, he's skilled, but it's not just levels above Pantoja where it's like, okay, this guy's going to be just getting his ass whooped on the feet, and he's got no chance if it's not on the ground. Like, let's not act like Asakura didn't get slept by Cap and have a close fight with him in the first one that he arguably should have lost, compared to Pantoja, who beat Cap cleanly for 2 rounds and then had a close third with him. Like, that is a very MMA math. I know styles make fights. I do think if they stand for 25, Asakura will win. But let's not act like Asakura is just smoking everyone. Like, he KOs people who are solid, but he hasn't KO'd anyone, in my opinion, apart from Kyoji, who I consider really good. And Kyoji also finished him. So, Kyoji's also training with Pantoja. So, I don't know if I rate that too highly for Asakura. I think he's good, but I just think you're not coming into the UFC in the limelight. Also, Japan's never had a UFC champion. Maybe it's the first time here. Maybe all the fucking stars align and this is just a big moment to end off the pay-per-view calendar. But I think Pantoja holds fort here. I do think the UFC wants Asakura to win. But if Pantoja wins, I think Dana White will kind of act like they didn't care and be like, I could care less. I'm happy for Pantoja. You know, he's one of the best champions we've got. We appreciate him heaps. And that just shows that our guys are just levels ahead. Like, he'll flip it. Could you not see, if Asakura wins, he'll glaze and be like, this is why all the best fighters got to be in the UFC. And then if Pantoja wins, he'll be like, see, our guys are just levels ahead of these other guys. You know, that's what I could see happening. But I'm gonna pick Pantoja to win by submission. I could see him catching Asakura too, who has been finished by strikes. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if we see an early Pantoja finish. It's either round 1 or 2 or it's decision, in my opinion. But yeah, I think he'll get the back in round 1 after like a few tough striking exchanges, and then he'll wrap it up from there with a submission. Let's move on though. That's the end of the video, guys. Like, subscribe. Let me know your picks in the comments. That's my picks on screen again. I'm not going to read them out. But yeah, follow my Instagram, follow my Twitter, all that shit. Left Lane MMA for both. And yeah, goodbye, guys. See you in the next one. Drop other video ideas you guys want to see too. But yeah, bye-bye.